So I want to make this video on Ibn Qudamah. Um, I've been trying to emphasize like historicity in my videos so recently. So I want to just this one really upsets me just because it's just a false claim that Ibn Qudamah was not Muffawidha. That just shows you how unreliable the average Salafi is. They'll just claim anything as long as it agrees with the conclusion they want. But let's look at it. As for Ibn Qudamah, is he a Muffawidha? Now, it is true that he wrote a book called Al-Ulu, and that book does indicate that he's trying to say that Allah is up, right, in the highest heaven and whatnot. And I don't see how you can refute that part of it. But that alone does not refute the claim that he's a Mufawwid, right? He could be a Mufawwid and still believe that God is above the heavens, right? And so he wrote a book called Ulu, and they all use it. And that's why they need to get him out of Mufawwida, because they're like, oh, but then we can't use his book. That's one of the biggest issues with Salafiyah, is that, and that's the thing I tried to expose in my book, which is that they can't find too many scholars that agree with them on everything. Most of them have one or two things that are pretty major that take them out of Salafi creed, and Ibn Qudam is one of them. So we're just going to look at multiple books, right? It's not just one book. Ibn Qudama has multiple books where he opposes Salafi creed. So let's look at this book, Da'am al-Ta'wil, which is essentially, going against metaphorical interpretation. He writes this book, and in page 11 and 12, he says, let's just get to the main part. You know, this is a quote from the Salaf. It is impermissible to explain it. This is a quote that I mention in my videos often. Pass it by as it came, leave its knowledge, understanding to the one who said it, and leave its meaning to the one who revealed it. And that's key there. And he uses the word mana, right? Leave its meaning. That is a form of tafweed. Now, the issue is this is one quote that's not, it does use the word leave its meaning, right? But the Salafis will say, oh, but, that's just, you're misinterpreting or something like that. He does say other quotes, right? Same page. Uh, Whatever Allah meant by it, right? He essentially, this is his approach to the attribute. Whatever Allah meant by it. So once again, he does imply that he leaves the meaning, right? And trust me, it's going to get more clear than this. This is the same page, right? We did not know the reality of its meaning, so it remains silent about what they did not know. And stop where the first of them stopped. Essentially, not to expand upon what it was said, right? In the text, right? Something that Salafis definitely don't agree with that based on what you see in Ibn Taymiyyah's book. He certainly went beyond the text. So they did not know the reality of its meaning, right? And he says on a different book, well, let's see what this book is. The Censor of Speculative Theology, right? Essentially, it's a book against Kalam. And he was aiming it at Ibn Aqil, who was a Hanbali who indulged in Kalam, right? And he says in page 50, right, to him, Ibn Aqil, and the usual stuff, leaving ta'wil, disruption, resemblance. Disruption, I believe, is ta'til, meaning rejection. But here's the important part. Ready? Affirmation, passing it by, consenting, and submitting without metaphor. Okay, this one doesn't say without meaning, but let's keep going. Maybe it's in another page. On the next page, he continues. There it is. There is no need for us to know the meaning of what Allah meant by His attributes. That's it. There's no need to know the meaning. I know the Salafis find a way, any way possible, to be like, oh, he meant this. It's like, no, I'm pretty sure I know what he means. I don't need you to read it for me. And we could keep going, which is to believe in the words, right, and the verses in the meaning desired by Allah, and to remain silent about what we do not know of their meaning, and to leave the search for what God did not compel us to search for in terms of their interpretation. Did not, you get the point, right? Leave the meaning. But don't worry, even if they're not convinced, there's more. There's much more. But here's other stuff where it's kind of an ambiguous approach. Silence about explanation. Don't explain it. No tafsir, right? And if silence about the tafsir is wrong, which by the way the Salaf did say to do this, right? This is from them. We do not know a tafsir for it, right? And if you don't know, you must remain silent about it, right? This is the same book, and they did not explain anything of that or explain its meaning, right? And this is, in Arabic, he's using the word mana, right? It's right here, mana, meaning meaning. So don't say, oh, he's not saying meaning, okay? And they're gonna say, oh, a meaning that agrees with the, like that's how they find a way out of it, to like misinterpret everything. But this book, I think, makes it the most clear. Lumma al-I'tiqad, I'm pretty sure Muffawidha in Egypt teach this book, leaving no exposure to its meaning, and we leave its understanding to the one who said it, right? You could read the whole thing. I'm not just skipping, just, to like this, to like trick you guys or anything like that. It's what it says, right? Without this, without that, without its meaning. All right. This is a quote from Ahmed ibn Hanbal, right? He says, "We believe in it without how and without meaning." And the thing is about this quote, it's in Al Khalal's book, in the Sunnah of Al Khalal. He's a really early Hanbali. The issue is that the Salafis say, oh, he meant a meaning that Ibn Taymiyyah is the one who says, a meaning that the Jahmiyyah accept. Right? So I say, look, he says without how or meaning. Sounds like he means it in the same way, how, in the sense that, without both. Because I don't know any sect that has a how. So why is he singling out meaning as the meanings that the Jahmiyyah agree with? He simply says meaning, right? We do not attribute to him more than he attributes to himself. And this is just the quote we just said earlier from Imam Shafi. We affirmed it and passed it by. Right? This is important. Passing it by is often found quoted by the Salaf. And I have this in another part of the book. And this is where there's no debate anymore, right? Because Salafis will still find a way to say, no, 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 no. He meant this. Because they're not, I don't know why they're like that, but whatever. Let's look at Sheikh Salih al-Fawzan. He's like a top 4 Salafi scholar in history, if you ask me, from the Saudi era. He wrote a commentary of the Lumma al-I'tiqad. He was asked about it, and he says, is it true, right? Is he from Mutashabih? Well, let's make it clear. What he says regarding that question of whether Ibn Qudamah, oh, there it is. Ibn Qudamah in Rawdat al-Nadhr, even though we didn't use this book, by the way, this is more of a fiqh book, says that the sifat are from the Mutashabih. Not exactly the same as saying that we don't know the meaning, but Mutashabih is something that most of the Hanbalis agree on this, by the way. If you look at I have everything in here. If you keep going, you'll find it. Every Hanbali's creed, most of them agree that they're mutashabih. From the very early ones too, Ibn Battah, and I could show you. I make a video of that. But essentially, he says, look, all of them are clear. There's no difficulty, ambiguity finding it. This is Salih al-Fawzan, right? So you have to understand that he doesn't agree with them on the attributes, right? He makes that clear. He believes that the attributes are clear. That's Salih al-Fawzan. Ibn Qudamah says they're mutashabih. Clear here that he does not agree with them. That's it. Like, I don't know how you get around that one. There's other ones, right? I never heard of this guy, but he's another Saudi scholar, Sheikh Abdul Razak Afifi. He's a Salafi scholar. He was asked, um, you know, let's see, is Ibn Qudamah Tafweed? Essentially, that's what he asked. He responds, he erred in Lumut al-I'tiqad, but the correct view, here it is, look, this is important. With Tafweed, but the Hanbalis are fanatical about other Hanbalis. I think he means the Salafis. And this is why some of their sheikhs are fanatical in defending Ibn Qudamah. But the correct view is that he is a Muffawidha. That's from a Salafi scholar. I mean, look, I showed you what's in his own books. Not all these Salafis, you have to understand them. Anybody who defends him might not have read all his books. That's the problem. This guy seems like he actually read his books, and he's like, yep, pretty clear that he is a Muffawid. So 2 Salafi scholars said that he disagrees with them on the attributes. Now, this is Ibn Uthaymeen, arguably the most important scholar in the modern Salafi movement, and he actually did commentary of Lum al-I'tiqad. So this is the most Muffawidha book out of all of them. And he says it here. As for what Ibn Qudamah mentioned in Lumah, it is from the Muffawidha. That's it, right? I'm not going to debate you anymore. Because the Salafis always want to, I don't know how, I don't like arguing with them because they find a way around everything. Khalas, Ibn Qudamah said it here. Al-Lumah is from the Muffawidha. That's it. And he did, and he says they're one of the worst, and they're the most insidious sects. But this is confusing, where he says he's an imam of the Sunnah. He's the furthest people from the Muffawidha, which makes no sense because he's saying it here that he is a Muffawidha in this book. So I don't know what his claim is. He's saying, but he's furthest from them. I have no idea. What is he saying, that somebody else wrote that? I don't know, because his other books of Ibn Qudamah, as I've showed you, 3 different books. In fact, the Sheikh Salih al-Fawzan quote I just showed you, indicates that even in Rodat al-Nadir, our fourth book, implies that the attributes are mutashabih. Not implies, but says it. That's what, right? So there's four books of his, and he hasn't written many books. So four of the books say he's a Muffawidha. Pretty sure he is one, right? And this is in the footnotes, right? This is, I believe that hmm, this is from Ibn Qudamah himself, right? So what is clear is what is clear in its wording and meaning. So it's necessary to believe in it verbally and affirming its meaning and truth, right? Essentially, you'll see. Well, let's see what he says here. Whoever goes back to the works of Ibn Qudamah knows for sure that he is far from the doctrine of al-Mufawwidha and the people of metaphorical interpretation, especially in the book Da'am Ta'wil. Well, we're going to look at that one. We just did, actually, but we're going to look at it again. Those who follow their example from al-Mufawwidha. Let's see. And I did write that Ibn Taymiyyah tries to reference Da'am Ta'wil to refute the idea that Ibn Qudamah is a Muffawwidh. The problem is that we quoted from that book, and it's clear even in that book that Ibn Qudamah believes in leaving the meaning. He specifically said, we do not know the reality of its meaning within that book, right? And we can, go right back to that book. Let's look at Da'am Ta'wil. I think it's the first book we looked at. And this is, no, that's Censor of Speculative Theology. And this is it, right? Da'am Ta'wil. In Da'am Ta'wil, leave its meaning, right? Pass it by as it came. Even if you read the whole thing, it's pretty clear he's saying, look, we just don't want to go into it. That's it. It's permissible to explain them, right? Pass it by, meaning pass it by, like go away from it, leave its knowledge, leave its meaning, right? And I could show you another video where this comes from a very early Hanbali, Ibn Battah. He's one of the first to even go deep into this. I have it. I can make another video of it. But yeah, we do not know the reality of its meaning. That's from the same book. So no, Da'am Ta'wil, he is not. He is still a Muffawwidha. I don't want to. I don't know. This is my presentation of the case, and if any Salafi disagrees, I don't know what to tell you because I think it's pretty clear.